Apologies for the lack of evening news at 7 p.m. Now you can probably tell why we couldn't do it earlier. I just come to the Israeli embassy in London, and I'm actually going to walk away from it. We've just left. Essentially, I need to say massive thank you. Special thanks to the Israeli ambassador for inviting Tousi TV to the embassy tonight. Essentially what we had was almost the anniversary of the October the 7th attack and invasion of Israel. Of course, was almost a year ago now. And there was a lot of conversations, especially over the last couple of days. So I think tonight was a good effort on behalf of the Israeli embassy to get Tousi TV and some others as well to go in to ask questions. I asked some questions about what's going on with the Israeli government, essentially the summary of it is, again, big thanks to the Israeli ambassador, mostly because these sort of things. Number one, there was a journalist from Israel who was there actually to also answer questions, who was actually left-wing, and he hates Netanyahu. He doesn't agree with Netanyahu's character. But despite the fact that the media would say the whole of the Israeli government and the state of Israel is basically completely controlled, propaganda and everything else, everything is pro-Netanyahu. No, because even the embassy decided to bring in someone who doesn't like Netanyahu to actually answer questions. So that was good. There were a number of things that was mentioned. If I get to my question that I asked. Number one, according to the Israelis, before last October, Hezbollah was seen as the bigger threat at the time, not Hamas in Gaza. And the primary reason for that is because of Donald Trump. Because President Trump, when he took out Qasem Soleimani, who was obviously one of the top IRGC commanders, the leaders of IRGC on behalf of Iran, he was in the Middle East running the show. When Trump took him out, the Iranian regime decided to put Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, as the main person in the Middle East to basically be able to report back to the supreme leader in Tehran. So the Israelis incorrectly were thinking that Hezbollah could be the imminent threat. That was incorrect. Obviously, since then, there was a lot of conversations tonight at the embassy about the international media side. The media treated Israel the first 2 weeks since October the 7th. The first 2 weeks, they treated Israel like it's Ukraine, like it's a victim. Then, since that time, they are now treating Israel like it's Russia, like it's invading other countries. So the international media narrative completely shifted, and that changed a lot of things. But the Israeli Defense Forces, obviously the ordinary IDF soldiers and everybody else, despite political differences, they continued to push for self-defense and sovereignty for their country. Now, there was another thing that we discussed tonight at the embassy, and that was because of what happened with Iran a few months ago, I believe it was in April, wasn't it? April, when everybody thought that Israel and Iran would do an all-out conflict. Now, one of the main reasons that didn't actually happen was because of Joe Biden. Now, according to the Israelis in the embassy tonight, and of course the journalist, Joe Biden was and is very scared of the impact of that sort of conflict when it comes to the US elections, when it comes to the support for the US Democrats. Why? Because of course, if a conflict like that happens just before the election, you're going to have oil prices going up, you're going to have a lot of issues that will affect the economy short term, but it's a bad look for the Americans. So the Americans, in a very selfish way, forced Israel not to defend itself, and of course threatened Israel, and that's why nothing happened. Now, this time round, Iran has been saying we are going to come for Israel in the next 48 hours, right? Still waiting. They didn't see what happened 2 days ago. They didn't see that coming. The operation that even the Israelis in the embassy were saying tonight that obviously, officially, Israel has not taken any responsibility, but every evidence has come out about the fake companies that they tricked Hezbollah to buy the pages from seem to be linked to Mossad anyway. Also, I need to keep looking around because obviously where I am now, obviously right behind me is the Israeli embassy, and right over there is the Iranian embassy. I know, what a city in London, what a city. I'm in between Israel and Iran as we speak, and I have to keep looking around because let's not forget this is Kensington, and a lot of people on bikes. Look at that one. There's people on bikes. Any moment, somebody could come and grab my phone. Any moment I could get mugged, and any moment I could get stabbed in general because I'm my Tousi. So I have to. Actually, if I get closer to the Israeli embassy, I might be a little bit safer than the Iranian embassy. But there was that about what's going on with the Iran war not happening because Biden was afraid of losing the election. Now Kamala Harris is afraid of losing the election. Right now, as we speak, Israel is hammering Hezbollah in the south of Lebanon, in Beirut. Sorry, just loud noises. And obviously the Iranian regime is still yet to respond. So according to the people inside the Israeli embassy tonight, it's inevitable, the direct conflict with Iran. It's gonna happen. It's just about the escalation that, of course, between Hezbollah and Israel, it will keep going and going. But the key point is actually the other thing that was mentioned tonight. Actually, I asked a question when I was in the embassy. I asked a very simple question. I said, there are political differences inside Israel that's been going on for a long time, pro and anti-Netanyahu side. How much of it now is impacting the morale inside the government and inside the IDF? And the answer was, obviously, especially when I asked that left-wing journalist, obviously he doesn't like Netanyahu. He said, he was trying to be objective. He said, short term, not much, because especially after the 7th of October, everybody who was part of the IDF, whether they liked or disliked Netanyahu, they still have been trying to, even now, fight for their country. But long term, it's not going to help. And he said it's not about Netanyahu himself. It's not going to help democracy in Israel. Which again, I questioned it because it's the same rhetoric you would get from the likes of BBC News and CNN in America. The liberal lefties who always say a character like Netanyahu or Trump, for example, they are a threat to democracy and this is the end of democracy. Checks and balances in Israel is still there. Don't worry about it. Democracy in Israel will be all right, with or without Netanyahu. So I think that was a bit of a propaganda coming from the guy tonight, but it was still trying to not be completely too biased about it. Having said that, the main issue that we currently have is also about the other thing we discussed in the embassy was Yahya Sinwar. Sinwar, as the only remaining senior leader of Hamas in Gaza, it's him and his right-hand man, who I believe is his son or nephew, whatever he is now. Obviously the other one died, but these two, according to the intelligence that Mossad now has, it was Yahya and the other one that were responsible, the inner circle, for what happened on the October the 7th. Apparently what happened on that day, it was discussed only amongst the inner circle, and the others who were involved in the operation in terms of decision making, every single one of them has been eliminated. So in Gaza, there's only 2 people left. That's it. Two senior terrorists responsible for October the 7th. Yahya Sinwar is one of them. And that's why Yahya Sinwar is very, very cautious about any sort of deal, because he wants his own freedom. He wants to be able to flee. And the other thing that the embassy conversation tonight showed me was that from the perspective of the Israelis, the first hostages deal was actually a win for Netanyahu, for Israel, and a defeat for Gaza. Primarily because they managed to bring in about 110, 111, 110 hostages back. They did have to release about 300 of the terrorists from prisons in Israel, give it back to Gaza. But according to them in the embassy, what we had was junior and minor terrorists, a lot of women and a lot of the first-time offenders, essentially, who were given back to Gaza. So not really any senior decision maker who was a terrorist prisoner in Israel. That's why, since then, any hostage deal has either been destroyed or they've been delaying it every single time. So obviously I had to ask the tough questions about the political stuff, because obviously if I'm there as a journalist, you have to actually hold any power to account, any government, whether it's the British government or the Israeli government or anybody else. I would ask tough questions of Yahya Sinwar if he would invite me to his tunnel, but of course Yahya is not that generous. Bad Yahya, naughty Yahya, invite Tousi TV to your tunnel and I will ask very, very sensible questions. The same applies to Hassan Nasrallah if he wants to invite me to his cave, because apparently he's got good taste in food because he's very fat. So I will ask him some questions as well. Also, in case you don't know, there's currently a pub because obviously yesterday a lot of the Hezbollah members have been sent to meet their virgin goat virgins. Look, we got the goat tavern. This one is for Hassan Nasrallah. There's a goat waiting for you in London. And I don't think that goat has been in London. That goat pub has been in London for decades and decades, for centuries. I'm pretty sure that goat is no longer a virgin, let's just say. That is not a virgin goat. Looks haggard. But yeah, so that's what happened. Also, now that I've done the Israeli embassy, and obviously I'm meeting them as well, the conspiracy theories about Tousi TV being funded by Mossad is going to be escalating, ladies and gentlemen. Even though I wasn't the only one who was there. CNN was there. Who else was there? The Independent was there. Reuters was there. BBC Persian. I don't know why. I didn't see Sky News, but nobody likes Sky News anyway. We had a couple of Arabs as well. But because I was there, obviously Mossad invited me to give me my check. Obviously. And that's why I had to make it public. Instead of doing it secretly, I had to do it publicly. So all the conspiracy theories about Tousi TV being funded by Mossad is now going to be escalating, so I love it. I should ask for a check. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming. I'm going to go. I think we've been arrested now. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Maya Tousi, and we are the media.